Things I cannot control. I have found truly so much peace, so much happiness, so much joy, and I want to share with you how I've done that. I can't predict what's going to happen, and it doesn't help me to constantly be thinking about tomorrow or the next week or the next month. Those practices have been game changers for me, and I think that this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing that has helped me, is remembering. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Adrienne. I post everything from lifestyle to mindset, and earlier this year in January I was diagnosed with cancer, so I'm sharing a lot of that journey as well and the things I'm learning through it. If you're not new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Let's get into it. All right, in today's video I want to talk to you about what it looks like to truly find peace when things feel out of control in your life, or when you're going through a really challenging time. As I mentioned, I was diagnosed with cancer in the beginning of January, and this has been the craziest up and down journey, as you can imagine, but I've learned so much through it. And I think that this video today will be applicable to those of you who are going through their own cancer journey, but also those of you who are just going through a challenging time or a time in life where you feel like things are out of your control. And I know that we've all experienced those times. So I want to give you a little background about where I was in the beginning of this journey to where I am now. And then I want to share with you 4 specific things that you can do to truly find peace in the middle of a time in your life where you may feel like things are out of your control. So jump back to January. I was out of the blue, it very much felt like diagnosed with cancer, and I'm going to share this entire journey at some point. If you're interested, I do share more in my other videos like that are specifically about my cancer journey, but I don't want to focus on that today. What I want to focus on is this has obviously been the most challenging thing I have ever been through. But on top of that, this experience has really, as someone who was a prior control freak who liked to have control over kind of everything in her life, perfectionist, all of the things, this has thrown me into an experience where I truly don't have control. I have control over certain things, but a lot of the things are out of my control, and this experience has taught me to surrender and to truly find peace with that, with things being out of my control, and trying to be okay with it as a former person who was needing to always be in control of like everything. And if you can relate to that, you're in the right spot, you're watching the right video. I am at a point now though where in November I'm still going through it. I still don't know the outcome of this journey. I still don't know what's going to happen. In the things I cannot control, I have found truly so much peace, so much happiness, so much joy, and I want to share with you how I've done that. So let's jump into the 4 things that you can do to truly find peace when things are feeling out of control in your life. So the first thing is practicing presence, and I'm going to give you a few specific ways to truly practice this, things that have really helped me, things that I also share with my coaching clients. The practice of presence. You hear that all the time. It can be a bit cliche to be present, be present, be present. What does that really look like? What does that really mean? Especially on a day-to-day basis. How do you stay present? Especially when you're going through a really challenging time. So for me, the first thing that's most important is to pay attention to your thoughts. Are your thoughts jumping to the future all the time? Are your thoughts jumping to the past all the time? If that's the case, can you catch that and bring yourself back to the present moment and focus on, this is really all we have. Like when you break it down, all we have is the moment that we're in. We have no idea what's going to happen in the next hour, in the next couple hours, tomorrow. We have no idea. So constantly having your mind in the future and the past honestly is not helpful, especially when you're trying to find peace with your current circumstances. So practicing presence is paramount. So the ways that I practice presence that I find very helpful is first and foremost meditation. I started meditating years ago, and it has truly changed my life. I meditate nearly every morning and most nights as well. And the idea of, there's so many different reasons for why you can meditate, but one of the reasons is to practice presence, and it can be a practice to just constantly bring yourself back to the present moment, back to the present moment when you're sitting in the meditation, especially if you're doing one that is silent or with instrumental music. or frequencies or something like that, where it's not a guided meditation, although guided meditations are great as well. The practice then is sitting, and letting the thoughts come up, but recognizing them, letting them go, and bringing yourself back to the present moment, back to the present moment, back to the present moment, over and over and over. And eventually it becomes more of second nature then throughout your day, especially if you're starting your morning with that kind of practice. So that's the first way that I do practice presence. The second way, I love this practice, is to use your senses. Taste, touch, smell, hearing. So in any single moment, if you find that your mind is wandering, your thoughts are wandering, you're going into fear, you're going into the future, to the what ifs, bringing yourself back to the present moment through your senses is really, really helpful, especially when you compare that with gratitude, which I will talk about later on in the video. But what that would look like is, I'm sitting here now, right? What do I see around me? And that's what I'll start with. I would look at what, outside my window, I can see the trees, the wind is blowing, the branches and the leaves are falling off. I can see the sun and the clouds. I see, my room, and I'm looking at, and I'm paying attention to what I see. Okay, what do I hear? I hear someone's lawnmower. I can hear the wind. What do I taste? I don't really taste, actually I taste the fruit that I ate right before this in my mouth still, so that's something that I taste. What do I hear? I already did that one. What can I touch? This is really soft, I can feel that. The texture of the couch or the chair that I'm sitting in, I can feel that. So that's an example of using your senses, and that is another way that can bring you back into the present. And I'll talk about how you compare that with gratitude here in a minute. The last practice that I use to practice presence is breathing. And I am doing things like breath work and stuff, but it doesn't have to be that in depth. A way to practice presence that you can do throughout your day daily is to set a reminder on your phone, on your watch. If you've got an Apple Watch or any other kind of watch, you can set a reminder to remind yourself to take a deep breath. Let's take one together. When you are in that breath, you're present. You really can't not be present, because you're focusing on that deep breath. And if that's something that you can pause and do throughout the day, or if you feel like you won't remember, setting a reminder for yourself to do it can in that moment bring you back to the present. And these kind of practices over time will help presence become more of second nature to you. And that is so helpful when you are in a situation, an experience, a journey in life where things feel out of your control, things are really challenging. Coming back to the present moment has been everything for me, because I can't predict what's going to happen. And it doesn't help me to constantly be thinking about tomorrow or the next week or the next month or the next year when it's out of fear and it's out of uncertainty. If you can future think and it makes you excited, that's a different story. But if you're future thinking and it's causing you distress, then bringing yourself back to the present moment is a really good way to get out of that. The second topic that I want to talk about when it comes to finding peace in the middle of situations you can't control in life is focusing on what you can control, because there are always things that you can control, even when everything else feels out of your control. So throughout my cancer journey, the things that I have focused on that I can control are things like what I put in my body, what I consume, both, what I'm eating, the media that I'm listening to, who I'm around, what actions I take throughout the day, my mindset. Am I working on inner work? Am I not? Am I tuning into my spirituality? Am I not? Those are the things that I can control when everything else feels out of control. And so to specifically break this down into things that you can focus on that are within your control always, no matter what's going on around you, are, one, is what you do with every day that you have. What actions you take. Are you doing things that make you feel better? Are you doing things that make you feel worse? Are you taking actions that get you more to where you want to be or take you further away? And what you do with each day that you're given is completely within your control for the most part. And so that is one thing that you can focus on. Another thing that you can focus on is your mindset. Not your mood necessarily. And I think that that's misleading when people say, you're in control of your mood. You're not always. For example, a woman's cycle. We cannot control what our hormones are doing, and sometimes we just wake up on the wrong side of the bed because it's that time of the month, and that's not something you can control. But what you can control is your mindset around that time. If you wake up in a bad mood, are you going to actively try to think better thoughts, not let it take over your whole day, or are you going to stay in that place? That is in your control. So mindset is different. than mood. And I want to make that clear. But that is another thing that's in your control. The third thing is what you do with your emotions. Your emotions themselves, your feelings, are not necessarily in your control. That's also misleading if you ever hear that. There are, people say control your thoughts, control your emotions, and to an extent that's true, but there are so many times where your emotions just take over, and that's human nature. But what you do with those emotions is in your control. Are you going to process through them? Are you going to let yourself feel them? Or are you going to try to avoid them? Are you going to try to suppress them? Are you going to let them take over you and spiral into them? So what you do with the emotions that are coming up for you is within your control. And I can talk more about emotional processing and what that looks like and how I've really handled that on this journey. If that's something that you guys think would be helpful for you, just let me know in the comments below and I can make a video about that. And then the last thing that is always within your control is your response and your reactions. So no matter what, if somebody else is coming at you with something, how you respond and how you react is within your control. If something is going on in your world that is scary, that is causing you fear, how you react and how you respond is in your control. That is always in your control. So just for example, on my own journey the other day, I was thinking about, I have a scan coming up, and those are always scary. If you've heard of the term scanxiety, it is real. But I sat there and I said to myself, at this point, I am doing everything that's in my control in terms of healing, I feel like. And so there's nothing else I can do. So I'm choosing right now, my response to the fact that I'm having this anxiety about this scan is that I am going to try to set it down and not worry about it, because I'm going to have the scan no matter what. The outcome's going to happen no matter what. I can't control it, but I can control the fact that I'm not going to sit here and worry about it up until that day. I'm going to handle it when it comes, and every time I feel anxiety come up, I'm going to remind myself, I'm here right now. This is all I have is this moment. I'm not going to worry about 2 weeks from now. So that's an example. All right, moving on to the third big topic here is with gratitude. And this has been huge, because no matter the circumstance that you're going through, and I don't mean to invalidate circumstances that are tragic and traumatic, however, you can almost always find gratitude for things, and that is something that you can choose to focus on that can bring you peace. I'm in the middle of the most challenging time of my life. I have cancer. That's crazy and it's scary and all the things, but I have never felt more grateful. I have never felt more gratitude. Even this morning I was on a walk and I was brought to tears with how much gratitude I was feeling. And that is something that I can control. That is something that I can focus on, and it brings me so much peace. There are so many things in my life that I can be grateful for. I don't have to focus on the things that would make me ungrateful. I could focus on the cancer. I could focus on the fact that this isn't fair. I could focus on the fact that there are so many other people out living their lives and I'm, having to go through this journey. But I choose not to focus on those. I choose to focus on all the things that I have to be grateful for. The fact that I have so much energy, the fact that I'm here recording this video, the fact that I have the most amazing support system, the fact, I could go on and on. I feel it all day, every day. I am so grateful for so many things, and that's what I choose to focus on. And so gratitude is extremely, extremely helpful. I did want to give you one tip when it comes to gratitude journaling, because I think that is a thing that a lot of people promote, and I don't think it's super helpful to go into everyday gratitude journaling the same things, especially when they're the big things like, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my friends, I'm grateful for my house, I'm grateful for my car, I'm grateful for my health. I feel like so many people go into gratitude journaling like that, and then you repeat the same things every day. It takes the effect out of it. It takes the emotion out of it. You're just kind of like writing it down to write it down at that point. So what I tell my clients and what I practice myself is, when it comes to gratitude journaling, is to get very specific. Make it very specific and small things if you can, because that's even more helpful, is to look at all the little things in which you can be grateful for. So for example, in my own gratitude journal this morning, I wrote, I'm so grateful for the electric blanket, the heated blanket that one of my friends gifted me that I have on my lap right now. It's keeping me warm, like chilly out this morning. So grateful for that. I'm so grateful for this delicious warm cup of coffee. I love the flavor. I'm so grateful for something that I wrote recently, was not just my sister herself, although I'm so grateful for my sister, but it was, I'm so grateful for the fact that we FaceTimed last night, and that felt really good for me. So it's getting more specific with your gratitude, I find very, very helpful. All right, moving on to the last point and the last way that you can find peace when it comes to things that are out of control in your life is, and I think that this is the biggest thing, this is the biggest thing that has helped me, is remembering that no matter what happens to you in your life, you can handle it. No matter what happens to you in your life, you can handle it. This is different than, and I honestly hate it when people are like, no matter what, you're gonna be okay, because that's not really the truth. And especially when our minds think about what it means to be okay. With cancer, especially, for example, don't tell me no matter what I'm gonna be okay, because there is the possibility of death. There is the possibility of dying. Let's be very real about that. And to me, that's the very much opposite of being okay. So don't tell me no matter what I'm gonna be okay. But what I have learned is that no matter what, I can handle it. If I'm told that I'm not gonna make it, I want to be clear that this is not what I think is going to happen, and this is not the route that we're going down, but it's something that I have had to wrestle with and have worked through, and so that's why I want to share it. If I were told that I wasn't going to make it and that I was dying, for example, I would be able to handle it. It would be the hardest, most devastating news, but I would be able to handle it, and I would get through it to the other side, which in that case, the other side would be not making it. But like, do you see what I mean? Like, I would handle it though, because I could not, because that's our nature. That is what we do. Humans are so resilient. Humans are so strong, that even when we're in the face of death, we face it, and we have to. We really don't have a choice. So, but even if we're not talking about something that big, if you're given a situation where, let's say, you feel like things are out of control in your workplace and you are going to get fired or lose your job, or maybe things feel out of control with your children if you have kids in some way. Maybe things feel out of your control, you're trying to get pregnant, things feel out of your control there. Maybe I'm just thinking of common examples, but anyways, it's really, I think, the idea of, and it's so hard and it's not what we're taught to do, but is looking at the worst case scenario and understanding that even if that happened, you could handle it. That's different than saying you'd be okay, but you could handle it. And so that, I'm going to leave that there. I can make a whole video on that if you think that that would be helpful for you. I am going to make a video on facing my mortality, because that has been truly life-changing and a game changer in this journey for me. And I think it would be very helpful to share that. But besides that, that is the last thing that you can do in terms of finding peace in times in life where things feel out of your control, is remembering that no matter what, you can handle what comes your way. So those were the 4 things: was presence, gratitude, focusing on what you can control, and then remembering no matter what comes your way, you can handle it. And those practices have been game changers for me. I, like I said, have never been happier. I've never been more excited for my future. I've never been, feeling so grateful, so grounded. Camera's about to die. So I'm gonna leave this here. Let me know if you guys found this video helpful, if you liked it. I plan to make more videos like this where we just sit down and chat. So look forward to those coming your way. I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and I will see you in the next video.